actual framework is going to be for the door, or the glass door. But best option, instead of trying to mount a hinge onto this piece, which is kind of small, I'm going to try to mount our hinges here on this larger chunk. So I take my hinge and I scribe out where this is going to be. So I draw a little line here and how close I want to get to the actual edge, and figure out how large my hinge is. Now I've got a router, but it tends to want to bore like round holes in different places, and I didn't really want to take everything completely back apart, just to make a special cut here, down here, and one more. So once I mark it out, I figure out my depth, because you want this hinge to sit flush with the top, that way you don't have to do any extra cutting on your door. To do this, basically I've already cut this one out. I figured out it's about 1 blade width in depth, maybe a little bit more. So I'll make a series of cuts. What we're going to do now, I don't have the proper hammer for this. Take the sharp edge of your chisel and line it up where you want things to stop. Make yourself a pretty good little score in there. You want to use the bevel portion because this helps to guide your chisel through the wood on your depth. Think that'll work. I've already taken the time. I've routed out again about another 3/8 of an inch deep by 1/4 inch thick on each one of these. The sides, I ripped this old Barnwood down to 35.5 by, I think it was 1.5 inch, and 7/16. And on the bases down here that's going to carry the main load on the hinge area, they're 26.5 by, I want to say 2 3/8, almost 2 7/16. So it's going to give me just a little bit of overlap, just a hair of overlap over the whole thing. So to get started on this, I'm going to do a little bit of prep work. If I can pony clamp or clamp the thing to the box, being that we checked the box last night to see all the corners were square. What happened on the last one was I glued and screwed the lid, or the door, by itself, and it ended up, as it dried, it moved and got cockeyed. So I'm hoping to alleviate that this time by clamping it to the box itself. By doing so, hopefully it'll keep it square. The piece of glass that I've got, I've already screwed this together, test fit it, and test fitted the glass in. Now, coming back, I've sanded all my pieces, front and back, so now it's the final screwing and the final gluing, and we're going to clamp it to make sure it stays square. I'm going to try to alleviate where the glue spots are by putting some of these shop towels over the corners here. It'll catch some of the residue of the glue. Because the uprights, designed it this way so that the main load would be carried on the top and the bottom, and not on the actual uprights themselves. Using the GRK screws again, but this time I'm using looks like 3 1/8, so I can get the most bite all the way through these things. Bored the one at an angle, and then the other one straight in, so that it would get the most purchase on the wood itself. square. Out of all of them, I think the frames are probably, or the door frames are probably the worst. They're the hardest ones to really keep square. Because they're such thin wood, they want to move around a lot on you. Alright. Wait for this to dry, give it a final sanding, a couple of coats of clear coat, put the glass in. I've got a neat little trick lined up for the glass. Basically I'm using picture frame hangers, little metal L brackets, flatten them out, bend them a certain way, and use little round pieces of felt. And I can set the glass in here without having to nail or tack a strip in behind. I use little bitty screws, and it acts like little pressure fingers. Holds the glass in place and allows for the frame to twist and flex a little bit without putting undue pressure on the glass itself. Well, I figured I'd spare you the agony of watching paint dry. And as far as what I used for paint was Verithane's water-based polyurethane. Because anytime you're going over anything that's going to come in contact with these old uniforms, you want something that's more water-based. If you use oil-based, it's going to probably stain or give off a gas. It's not going to be conducive to what you're trying to do. So, sanded, this stuff is the triple thick, and it does a really good job. But what I ended up doing is sanding in between. I put on a main coat and I sanded it a little bit, scuff sanded it with I think 220, and then came back over and put 2 more coats, and it made a really nice thick layer here. So as you can see with both these boxes, turned out very, very well. The corner brackets here, dress up brackets, and the name labels come from Hobby Lobby. The corner brackets are about $2 for a pack of them. Little bitty nails, put them in. And the name placards, they're actually meant for a card index. So they had like little squeeze clips. So I drilled a pilot hole and sunk them in with screws on the one, and I've yet to get some screws with this coronavirus mess that's going around right now. I could not go down and get another latch for this one here. Hobby Lobby in our area is closed right now. So, but for right now, this hangs in the hallway in our house. And if you're in a home like ours where we share this bed and breakfast, you're probably going to want to put some sort of locker, latch, or hasp mechanism on this one here. It's got a nice decorative latch to it. But I'll show you what I did for the glass on the inside. If for some reason your doors don't line up quite right, like this one didn't on the first one I built, the second one over here we built, we squared it all up. The second one here, what I ended up doing is taking 2 nails, and I drilled in with the nail to make 2 alignment pegs. There's one at the top and one here in the middle. And as far as putting in the glass, I notched out for the hinges so they all sit flush through here to seal the box up as much as possible. Secondly, I used actual picture hangers here in the corners for the actual glass itself, and used little felt tabs. I took the picture hanger and kind of bent it so that it would lay down and actually form like a little tab that would gently put pressure on the glass itself to hold it in place, instead of having to try to rig or fix a whole nother molding strip to go in there, because it's only routed in about 1/4 of an inch. Sadly, nothing in these boxes is original. A couple of photographs here and there. That's about it. A lot of that stuff was lost to the sands of time, but I was able to track down, and good USSAM is a website that you can buy the reproduction medals from. So like I said, none of these are original, but it was something that I kind of wanted to do, and I sourced the jackets out of antique shops. So nice thing to do if you're into memorabilia, or if you got a family relative or friend or whatever else that you want to kind of make a shadow box for. It doesn't even have to be for old uniforms. It can be for anything to your heart's imagination. So either way, I think they turned out pretty well. Hobby Lobby also has the UV or the museum grade glass, and that's really important to put in here so that any outside light does not fade or detract from these uniforms. So even the pictures are scanned, so they're not original, so no UV damage will be put in here. All right. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.